Hey, welcome back everybody. Welcome back to my channel, Amused Jester. My name is Junior. Today we're looking into Mafex's Mighty Thor. So I opened this up already. Let me see. For anybody interested, here is the box. This is a nice part, kind of like the comic books. Mighty Thor, flying pose, angry poses. Very simple box, which I'm going to toss right away. So I've opened this up already and I've kind of played around with it, but this basically enforces my decision on what I'm going to do when it comes to $100 figures, which I made a video of if you guys are interested in watching that. So here's what we got for Mafex. This was $90, I think, something around there. A lot of stuff for sure, a lot of stuff, right? So let's go over the accessories. This accessories so much kind of confused me. There are the rows of hands. Let's do a close-up of the open splayed hands just to look at the detail on what's going on. So here are the hands. It's detailed, but honestly not as detailed as you would expect. This has a softer detail. It does have those lines for the hands, but the paint application is also very plain, as you can see, and that goes for all the hands. Now this is kind of interesting, where the hilt or part of the hammer is attached to the hand, so that's kind of a cool thing, and I had to kind of figure out how this works. So you basically pull that out. It's got a key, as you can see, that you need to make sure you match on the actual object itself, otherwise it won't go in. So you can put this on Thor's hands. Oh, it's got a mini nub. And Thor can basically be flying off. That's cool. So accessory wise, when it comes to expensive Mafex, you do want a lot of accessories, and this is one of the things where Marvel Legends fail, because most of the time it's only gonna have like one or two accessories, and unfortunately again most of the time there are a lot of reused accessories, so it's not like unique. So I feel sometimes they'll only have like one, maybe two unique accessories. Definitely not multiple hands or heads like this. But let's see, this is for the other hand if you want, so you can do it in both hands, but it's basically the same pose, so that's cool. This is the alternate head. This is the alternate head, the angry head. It's good. I think of this more like a cartoon version. So let's put it this way. Comic book, cartoon, realistic in terms of paint application, the way it looks and everything. This is kind of like a mix between, I'm gonna say this is more of like a cartoon. A good cartoon would have something like this. A good comic book, obviously depending on the artist, will have more details and more stuff, but this is kind of like a cartoon where it captures the comic book look of the figure, but in terms of paint application it's very basic, right? I would even say that in Marvel Legends case, they've kind of surpassed this their application. We're going to do a quick comparison of these two heads. You can see the detail, right? Which one is actually more paint applied to it. Even the shading on the lines on the hair, right? Obviously it's falling towards Marvel Legends now, and that's why the reason why every time I review Marvel Legends I always gravitate towards the face, because I feel like a big chunk, I would say, like in the paint application funding, 90% of it is going to the face. 10%, 15% is probably on the body, which I think is a good idea. So here's the head. Here's the regular head. It's a good Thor likeness. Now, I like accessories, but the question is, like, do I really want to spend from $25, which is the Marvel Legends, to $100 to a Mafex just to get this much options? And the answer is no. I think, like, this was a good gimmick, but maybe one of this, maybe the flying, and maybe a crouching, like this much for a $30, $25 figure would be great, you know, and not necessarily an alternate head. This is a very cool accessory, and luckily Marvel Legends did offer this, which is a big plus. But this, when I learned about Marvel Legends, it's really heavy. It's not capable of holding this. This, I don't know what this is for. This might be a stand for when you're holding this. So this twirling thing is probably gonna go with this hand. You plug it in, and you plug it in with this hand. But this thing is so heavy, there's no way it's capable of holding that. So maybe this is for that, to hold it in place. But from what I discovered, it's about to pull off the hand, and it just did. From what I discovered from Marvel Legends, this thing is so heavy. This, as nice of an idea, it just won't work. It's a good idea, but the way they implemented it, it's okay. So let's go on to the look of the figure. The look of the figure is great. On its own, it looks like Thor to me. It's got some sort of subtle shading on the crevices of the muscles. Maybe a little bit more here. Really, really good classic Thor look. This is the way I imagine Thor to be. The range for the head is kind of limited because of the hair in the back. It does have a joint here and a joint there, so you can kind of utilize that, but it's still very, very limited. Can't even twist it all the way around. For the shoulders, it has the shoulders of Mafex, so you can kind of pull it out to, well, for the shoulders, you have this all around. You can only go up to that. This is a pullback, a pushed in bicep, and the elbow has that much range. For the hands, I like that you do have the ball joint here, but not necessarily bulging out the way McFarlane does. You can increase that by pulling it a little bit more and push it back in. Now the cool thing is it does have a pull out function on the shoulder. Oops, well, not that kind of a pull out. I wasn't expecting that. Let's do it on this side. Okay, this one is not pulling out as much. I know it has a pull out function. Maybe it doesn't. Okay. I was able to pull this out before. Now it's not doing it. So that's kind of a shame that this is happening on a $100 figure. So you just gotta be careful with it. It's like a plug-and play toy. So that's kind of disappointing. I swear you should be able to pull out this. See? Pulls out. That's crazy. I knew it pulls out. So maybe it pulls down? No. Unfortunately, because these are loose, I can always glue it to make like I'll glue it here, and that it won't lose function. You can't glue this because you'll lose function this way, but in order to push it in, you have to push it in. This is annoying. It's coming apart in like 3 different sections, and I don't think it's meant to be glued. I think it's meant to come out, but that's just way too loose. This is, so the way they constructed it is this little thing is actually connected to this peg over here. This is the actual peg of that. So what's happening is, as you're pushing this, you're literally limiting the contact to that one. So you can't glue this here to that, because then you'll lose this function. I can glue this part. Okay, so now that we have that, let me just pull that out. See, this cup over here is connected through this joint. So I knew this joint, this peg, should be able to go in and out like so, and it's not doing that. I think this particular peg got stuck on the outside, and there's really no safe way there. Now comes out. So basically the peg is like this now. Before it was stuck like that position, and as you're trying to move it, and so the ball joint is here, as you're trying to move it here, this comes loose. So now it's kind of in this position now, inside, but you have to put this in, so it naturally pushes it in there, and you're trying to push it out. Now it's gonna come off of this joint. That's really bad. And there's nothing stuck in here. It's just a matter of something's going on with this joint that's preventing it from moving forward like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check that in there and put this in here. Now, what I was trying to show is, if this shoulder was functioning kind of like the way it is here with RoboCop, and as a segue, I actually bought this for like $78, cheaper than usual, because this was broken, where I believe it looked like this. And it was like that, so I had to glue this part to that. So I know that's the way to do it. Anyway, showing this off, now the range comparatively, if this was functioning, oh my god, really? $100, guys. If this was a functional bicep cup, instead of having that, you can now have this much of a range. See the big difference in that? That's why you really need that design to be working, and it's not. It's very, very, which means another thing is, you have this hand like that comparatively to this. Look at the difference. This is what you're paying $100 for. This is part of it, and it's not working. Other people would probably put some sort of oil in there to make that a little bit more loose. I'll probably do something like that once I figure out how to fix this particular arm. Anyway, going back to the rest of the articulation, this much movement, not a lot of back, but I suppose good enough. Much more in the back, sideways. The legs, as of course we know, has a drop down version, but and then has a little bit of twist on the thighs, has the double jointed on the knees, so that's not a problem. Ankles good. It's got the rotation and the swivel. Got a toe joint over here, so that's good. Let's look at the range of the leg without utilizing the drop down. Is, well, actually that's already pushing the drop down already, so you can kind of kick that much higher, but it goes off to the side. So, and there is the drop down compared to the regular placement of the legs. I have the Thor head that looks like this. I just don't have it right now. This is as close of an approximation on the both costumes. So discount the fact that they're different sizes, right? What I want to point out is this: $25, $100. In terms of articulation, obviously Mafex would win it if everything was functioning. I'm already giving them the benefit of the doubt that the functional articulation. That's the only reason why I've always wanted to look into Mafex, was because the range of articulation, it even beats Mezco. So the question is $25, $100. Is the $75 increase sufficient to say that Mafex would be the one to go to because it has so much more articulation? For example, it doesn't have the thing on the shoulder, so that's about the range of the shoulder, which is basically what this is. Doesn't have any pull out. It can. This is what I expect of a normal range of articulation now for all figures. All figures should have double jointed elbows, double jointed knees. Not necessarily a drop down, but it does need to have thigh rotation, sacrificing the sculpt. It needs to have double jointed knees, needs to have the ankle up and down and pivot, needs to have this kind of a movement for the elbow, for the waist and the below the chest. You know, this is basic articulation for me. This is modified articulation, but not necessarily 25 to, not necessarily 4 times the value of the figure is basically what's going on. Visually, I think this does the same job as this one, because this is kind of like evokes a comic book look for me, but at the same time with a tweak of reality to it that's good enough for me. And considering this is the $25 version and this is the $100 version, I just don't want to continue any more of Mafex's. I just don't see the value in it. Like, and this is the reason why I began to gravitate towards Mezco. It's $100, $125 figure maybe, but it's got cloth in it. It's got a good enough articulation, better than a Marvel Legends. So basically, so my final thoughts on this one. So the first question in this figure is it worth the money I paid for it, which is, let's say it's $90, right? For every figure, is it worth the price that you paid for? $90? No. I think what this thing should be going for retail is maybe $70, $65 to $70. Because and compared to a $25 figure. The second question should have been, if it had been worth the $90 that I paid for, is the value that you're receiving better than what you paid for at $90? Is it a figure that you would have paid $120, $150 for? So it failed on that, because now I'm thinking instead of 90, this thing should actually 75. So the value plummets. Now, if this thing was offered at $50, then I would say at $50, then the value is higher than the price that they were asking for. But we're not getting to that because it never even reached that. It's actually, I feel like this should have been a lower price point, because even though it's got a lot of accessories on it, the way it's just implemented is not well done. The fact that this is cool, but it can't hold it, it's poor. The paint application is just not what I'm looking for a $90 figure. It's just not. Even though they're going for a specific style of it should not be like that. It's got a lot of accessories, but again, the paint, it fails on the paint application. And honestly, just the overall sculpture, it's very soft. This is a very soft sculpture is what I'm thinking of, compared to this one. This is a hard sculpture where you got a lot of muscles and veins and all that stuff. It's missing a lot of that, right? And yeah, you might say, well, they're going for an artistic style. I admit that, but if you're gonna do that, then you can't put it at $90. There's just not enough detail in there. It's too soft for something like that. So it's almost like, let's compare it to a $25 Marvel figure. What is it adding on? So obviously we're going to discount the sculpt, we're going to discount the cape, in the paint, because they're almost, we're going to say those are artistic differences, right? So what are you paying for if for a $90 figure compared to a $25? This one, multiple hands, multiple options for the hammer. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 hands, or 7 sets of hands. Acquired cape, an extra set of an extra head. I'm gonna lightly talk about this crappy base, which is not worth anything to me. Actually, I think it's a negative. So you're basically paying an additional, what, $65 for all this, and you're gonna ask yourself, is it worth it or not? And I'm gonna say it's not. So that's my final opinion, my final evaluation of the Mighty Thor from Mafex. If you want this particular look of Thor, a simplified, soft, comic, kind of like comic book cartoon accurate, that gives you a lot of articulation, a lot of hands, a separate set of head, then go for it, because obviously Marvel Legends is not going to do that for you. But I just don't think it's worth $90. If you can get this for $60, I would grab it, you know. So anything else, I just don't think there's a lot of play in this, especially if it's gonna come broken. Not broken, but a pain. There, I was able to pull it down. I think you're supposed to pull it down like that, not pull it out. That seems to work better. Okay. And with that, I'm gonna leave you guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys will tune in for the next review. I'm not gonna review RoboCop because I really do like this figure, and it's a Mafex. I ended up buying him here. This is my crazy thought process, because I was satisfied with NECA, but NECA, it's just the articulation suffers so badly. I bought 2 of the NECA ones, the one with the chair and the one without the chair, but I bought this because I felt like this fits so much more better on this chair than the NECA one. Plus NECA is 7 inches, and this will fit perfectly with my 6-inch figures, and that's how I my crazy thought process was working, and I got it for a slightly lower price because I bought it broken and fixed it. So again, for my second goodbye, thank you for watching. I'll see you again, guys, again soon. Bye.